Hey everybody. Hey all you people. Hey all you people. Welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture and my squeaky chair on a beautiful Sunday morning. It's actually not too bad out right now in Vegas. Dude, I was just watching on MeTV Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. That was like a Sunday staple for my family back in the day. Although back in it would have been late 70s, early 80s when I would have been watching it. It would have been probably after dinner. So it probably came on like 6:30 or 7. No, probably 6:30. I think 7 is when officially like prime time would begin. Or was it 8? Anyway, dude, it was kind of fun. So these are like some earlier episodes. And I was just watching. Oh, there's my wife. I like the little crown #1. What does that even mean? Oh, it's because she's the first person to. Oh, okay. Anyways, I'm watching they're in South America. Marlon Perkins and this other dude who's like works on this ranch down there. And they're going after like big animals of South America. So there was a giant anteater with the friggin' huge claws, and a tapir. And the one I just was watching, they're down there in the water wrestling this massive anaconda. And it's Marlon Perkins. Now, if you look at Marlon Perkins, he's this older guy, got the white hair, and he seems sort of, kind of almost wimpy, the way he talks and blah, blah, blah. He's got this thing wrapped around him. He's holding the head. The other guy, he's like at one point holding the anaconda's head, other arm, and remember, they're in water, so they're off balance, grabbing this coil and pulling it off the other guy's face so he can get his head out of there. And I'm like going, Marlon Perkins was more badass than Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone ever even wished they could be. And you look at this dude, he just looks like a normal guy. I'm telling you, it's one of the tricks of Hollywood. The people you think are the big macho heroes are not the big macho heroes. The people who actually do all that real stuff, they just look like normal folks. Most firemen, there's some firemen who are big guys, but most firemen look just like normal guys. I don't know what you call him, uncle-in-law was a fireman, and he's still he still gets a lot done, and he's, I guess, in his 80s now. He doesn't look like, he just looks like a normal guy. And this is a dude who went out there, fought fires, rescued people, etc. One of the few times you get like an actual hero in Hollywood in a movie is going to be Audie Murphy. And again, you look at him, he doesn't look like the macho, muscle-bound hero type that we got so much of. I'm not saying anything against those movies, but remember, reality, very different from what you see on the screen. There are folks you're passing out on the street, on the sidewalk, who don't look like much, who are probably pretty friggin' amazing. And also, if you look at yourself and you think, I'm not one of those guys, dude, you could be one of those guys. You could be way better than the fools on the movies, Real normal people like us are who have done 99.999% of everything worthwhile in the world. Don't be fooled by Hollywood. The pretty people are mostly there to stand around and look pretty. They don't necessarily contribute that much to actual human civilization. So don't let them make you. Yeah, this anaconda didn't. No, the anaconda was not thrilled. Not thrilled at all. But anyway, it was actually pretty awesome. I was kind of going, oh crap, my stream is going to start in a few minutes. I got to go back. I want to see what happens. I think they got it in the bag that they were trying to get it into, but anyhow, yeah, so they're playing Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom now on MeTV on Sunday mornings. and I think they're playing Adventures of Superman as well. So if you're interested, you might want to look for that. All right, so what is going on, boys and girls? It was a kind of a crazy week here in Vegas. We got these freak windstorms that I didn't really get to see the windstorm, but I got to see the aftermath when I was driving home from work on Wednesday, I want to say. Wind came in really fast, spinning like crazy apparently, and took down. But what my wife said was, it's like there'd be these massive gusts of wind, but they only lasted a little bit and then calm. And then massive gusts of wind. It was kind of a dust storm that came through the valley, but it took down a bunch of power poles on one of our major thoroughfares, one that I don't really drive on to get home, but I drive across. And so I'm driving home, having a good old time, and I start to notice some of the side streets that I use are more crowded. There's too many cars. So I think, there's probably been some kind of an accident that's blocking traffic. So I'm like, well, let me reroute a little bit. I'll take this street, jump onto this other, big thoroughfare, and, I'll just kind of zigzag a little bit. I get up to that big street, which wasn't easy, by the way, and they got it blocked off with police tape. I'm going, oh, geez. Probably been a fatal accident. When that happens now, they will cut off a mega thoroughfare in the middle of rush hour to do their investigation, rather than just like at least letting people trickle through in one lane that's far away from the accident. That's what I'm assuming is happening. So I have to reroute back down. I go ways further. I try to get back onto that street because now I'm like a couple blocks away. It's still blocked off. I'm like, what in the hell has gone on here? I ended up having to go pretty much the opposite direction to loop around, get on the freeway so I could kind of drive over the blocked road to get into my neighborhood. So it turns out power poles were knocked over, street lights were knocked over, and they still got stuff blocked off. They're just starting to open things now. I mean, when I say power poles, I mean like, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. And a few places in town got hit. Hey, Vince, what's cooking, man? Yeah, you're fashionably late. I think that's fine. And so anyways, yeah, these friggin' power poles go down. They're still working on it. I've had to kind of reroute to get to work in the morning. My hope was they'd have things kind of opened back up by Monday, but we don't get stuff like that in Vegas. We don't get tornadoes. We don't get hurricanes. We get really, really tiny earthquakes. We get some flash flooding if we get just doused by rain. But we're kind of a non-natural disaster zone in America. I always say Vegas, no natural disasters, just one big man-made disaster, which is the city itself. But so we don't necessarily have emergency crews that are ready for this kind of thing. You got to figure in the Midwest where you got tornadoes, there's a certain amount of, we got these things, ready to go. We got the equipment we need. So it may take a while to get all this stuff back opened up. So anyways, kind of crazy, kind of a crazy week. It obviously could have been a lot worse. And some folks have been in without power now for a few days. So that's a lot worse because we're talking summer. I mean, we had a couple cooler days for us, which is like we only got to about 100. But you don't want to be without power very long in Las Vegas. It's, especially if you haven't grown up in those conditions, it's pretty rough. So hopefully they'll get their power back soon. We also, in the last week, we had the passing of Jim Shooter, legendary editor-in-chief at Marvel. Kind of oversaw the 80s revival of Marvel, which happens to be when I got into comic books. So he was the guy in charge when I first got into reading Marvel books. From what I hear, a lot of the creatives were not real thrilled with him. He was a taskmaster, he wanted things done on time, etc. But you see a lot of the readers out there lamenting, his death. Not that he's obviously hasn't been working at Marvel in a long time, but so the readers loved him. The creatives didn't always love him. I believe today is John Byrne's birthday, and I think he was, in particular, not a big fan of Shooter. Maybe he changed his mind over time. I don't know. But God bless Jim Shooter. Godspeed. He did some amazing stuff. Guy got into writing comic books when he was 14. Wrote some Legion of Superhero stuff. And so, man, he knew the business, that's for sure. And I don't know. I think we could probably use a guy like him back these days. And Shooter is a cool name, like my wife says. We also lost Julian McMahon. He was an actor, and best known probably among nerds, maybe, for playing Doctor Doom in the 90s Fantastic Four movies, which some folks really, kind of dump on. I watched them not too long ago, the family with my daughter. She hadn't seen them before. And I liked them. I do. I don't, God knows they're not perfect, but they got a lot of stuff, at least, in my opinion, at least kind of getting the spirit of the thing right. And they were fun. People had a lot of fun with those things. So God bless Julian McMahon. He was only 56 years old. I think it was cancer. That's what I believe. But, man, I was just, I'm prepping a video review of an old British TV show called Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, in parentheses after Hopkirk. It's a show about these two detectives, one of whom in the first episode is killed by the bad guys, and he returns as a ghost. So it's kind of action comedy. But the other detective, played by Mike Pratt, he also happened to pass away when he was 56. And I think that was also cancer. Yeah, so the age hit me. I'm like, oh God, I just read about Mike Pratt going at that age too. Kind of crazy and very sad, but Godspeed, and God bless his family. All right. So I know it's always sad we kind of open with some of that stuff, but I think you need to honor these people and their careers who produced all this, pop culture that we all love and we all talk about and watch and enjoy. What do you got, Finns? Wanted things out on time. I bet that did upset people in the comics industry. Yeah. Wanting people to get done on time is not always popular amongst creative people. And I also understand why it's not, popular, because it's tough. I mean, you look at these comic books. I got a bunch of them sitting here. Let's just grab one at random. You look at these comic books. Of course, I managed to pull this open and just open the ads every page I went to. Here's 2 pages of an old John Carter comic, right? That's a lot of art. And these things weren't just 2 pages long. And you're like, somebody's got to sit there and create every single bit of that. They don't have it just sitting in front of them. Well, I mean, the inker does in a way. He's not having to fill up completely empty space. I say he or she. But there's a lot of work to be done in inking. They are interpreting things. It's not all just laid out for them. And it's a massive amount of work to do all that stuff. And I think sometimes myself, I'll be reading one and I'm thinking, I'm going page, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of taking this for granted. Like, you stop for a moment and just, you look at a single image and you're going, I couldn't draw that image in 4 or 5 hours, let alone, I'm talking a panel. I couldn't draw one panel in 4 or 5 hours. These guys are drawing, 100, 200 panels. And so I could see where it's like, that's tough work, man. And if you got a guy saying, get it done, it could piss you off a little bit. But on the other hand, for the magazine and comic book business to work, you got to get it done, get it done, get it done. It's just the nature of the beast. But it's amazing what these guys, if you look at, like, I got over 2,000 comic books, right? And that's for like a collector, that's a small collection. There are people out there with 10,000, 20,000 probably books in storage, etc. And you're going, and then you got all the comic strips that have ever been made, and you're thinking, it's unbelievable the hours of work that went into all this stuff, and how lucky we are to have all of it. Incredible, man. Vince, I was talking about this with a buddy today. Imagine being able to draw. Like, I know. And I tried for a while. At one point in life, I'm like, I want to be a comic book writer and artist. And I worked at it. And I did realize at a certain point, and I know people will say, no, you just got to keep doing it. I couldn't get what was up here on the page. I just couldn't do it. And I had a buddy who could. He just sit down and amazing. He still does it. He's painting now. He does more fine arts. I couldn't, but I could do that somewhat with writing. And so I tried to focus on that instead. But yeah, it's an amazing thing to be able to just put that on paper. And, and I get it. When you're creative, creativity involves a certain amount of chaos, and chaos is going to rankle against order, and editing and publishing involve a great deal of order to make these things actually happen, to get them all printed, to get them all shipped, to do the accounting work. I'm sure there's a lot of creative folks right now who are in the indie sphere, who are doing their own work, who are probably going, oh boy, I really appreciate that back office now, at Marvel and DC that I used to have that handled all this stuff for me. So all I had to do is create. I mean, it's nice to own your own stuff and to make all the money off of it. But at the same time, there's a lot of work that goes on the other side of things too. We all need to appreciate what we're all doing a lot more, I think, in life. You're going to be a lot happier. All right. Let's get to some of the stuff I wanted to talk about today. One of them, the first thing, so this popped up on Twitter, and I should have paid more attention to who put it up in the first place, and I didn't, and I apologize. But this is a movie theater ad from, at the time, this was on the 4th of July, somebody posted. So this was the 4th of July in 1985. And you're looking at it, and you're going, okay, that's a pretty damn strong lineup. Now, there's 2 movies on there that were opening like that week that were brand new. One of them was Back to the Future. The other was Life Force. So I wanted to take a look at some of these because I went ahead. I looked at like what was the box office on these things? What were the budgets? Now this is going to be adjusted for $2025. So we've adjusted for inflation. So these are not the actual numbers from back in 85. But I just thought it's interesting to compare this with a lot of stuff we get nowadays. So let's start. Oh, and I'll also mention, we had essentially 240 million Americans back in 1985. We have about 350 million Americans now. All right, so we've added over 100 million people to the country. So about 1.5 times as many people. Now, I didn't adjust for that, but if you think about it, you could probably take most of these box office numbers, if you want to really compare it with ones today, multiply them by 1.5 to get the real number. Okay, so let's start with this. Back to the Future started that day. This thing from Universal, Robert Zemeckis directing, Alan Silvestri score, and everybody, we all know our Back to the Future nowadays, right? This is adjusted for inflation, $1.2 billion box office, right? Now, if we adjusted for population, it'd probably be more in the $1.8 billion, which is why I've been saying some of these big tentpole movies that they're hoping to get $1 billion probably should be hoping to get more in the $2 billion range to be realistic, to compare them to the big box office smashes of the 80s, 90s, etc., probably need to be going more for the 1.5 to 2 billion range than the 1 billion range. This got 1.2 billion. Now here's what's crazy. $60 million budget. Made 1.2 billion on a $60 million budget. So it was extremely profitable. And to me, and you're going to see this as we go through, look at these budget numbers as we go through, and then compare it to budget numbers you see today, where like a rom-com with Scarlett Johansson had a budget of $100 million. That matches the highest budgets you're going to see from 85. It matches it. And those weren't rom-coms. There's one here. There's a couple things that are more in that vein. They ain't spending $100 million on them, although some of them were a little bit over budgeted. So Back to the Future. So we also had Pale Rider, a classic. Clint Eastwood directed and starred in it from Warner Brothers. And it's kind of cool. 85, you're still getting a legit Western on the screen. Not as many Westerns as in the past, but we still got them. This thing had a $21 million budget. $21 million for a Clint Eastwood Western. Made $126 million. So it was not really a smash, but it was pretty damn profitable. And that's pretty impressive. So $20 million for a legit, good, solid Western. And it has become, a bit of a classic. Cocoon. So this is one of the early big Ron Howard films. James Horner music, a great cast from 20th Century Fox. So by the way, we've looked at Universal, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox so far. We'll get a couple others in there as well. Great cast though, older actors coming in, doing some great work. I remember I did see this one. I saw Back to the Future in the theater, and I saw Cocoon in the theater. I do remember that. Had a $53 million budget. All right. So pretty close to Back to the Future. Made $260 million. So it was profitable. So, and it was a pretty big smash at the time. And again, if we adjusted for population, it would probably be making more into $300 to $350 million. But it is definitely a classic. This thing did friggin' great on VHS rentals and all that kind of stuff. A lot of these things, they had legs. So, they got the box office, but they were making money after that point. But really, we've also now seen, you got Back to the Future, which is sort of comedy, action, sci-fi. You got Pale Rider, a Western. You got Cocoon, which is sort of a drama sci-fi with some comedy and stuff as well. Nice melange. And you could see that these things were all, they had mainstream appeal for sure. Fletch from Universal, so just like Back to the Future. Chevy Chase, Joe Don Baker, funny movie. So here's our first comedy. Oh, you never seen Cocoon? I mean, it's not like, a life-changing event, but it was a pretty solid movie. It was good. It was a good flick. It's worth it's worth a Sunday afternoon, evening watch, I would say. It's worth watching. But here we got Fletch. $24 million budget. Now you're going to see 24 in that area, 20 to 25. That's kind of what you would expect for comedies, rom-coms, a romantic drama at the time. That's about where because I talked about some movies before, Flashdance and An Officer and a Gentleman were right around $20 million budgets, and they made a lot of money. They made I think $500 to $600 million. Amazing. And they got re-releases too. We forget about that. A lot of movies back then got re-releases into the theaters or they just had really long runs because they were so good. And I don't know that you see that a lot. Are we going to get a re-release of the Minecraft movie next year? It was a big movie. It did really well. Is it going to get re-released? Probably not. A movie like that back in the 70s or 80s would have probably gotten a re-release the next year. In fact, I first saw Star Wars as a kid when it got re-released the next year. I saw it in the drive-in theater, which is awesome. But so Fletch, $24 million budget, made $180 million. So profitable. From Warner Brothers, The Goonies. God, dude, Back to the Future and Goonies just in the theaters at the same time. I mean, that's just great for kids. This one had a $58 million budget, made $207 million, so it was profitable. Wasn't massively, they'll remake Minecraft, you're right. They're just going to remake Minecraft every year from now on. And just do it that way. But so it was profitable. It was not a mega hit in the theaters, but this is another one. Boy, did it do good in rentals. And I remember that's where we first saw it. My sister and I, we rented it. And dude, she was obsessed with this thing. She would watch this thing 2 or 3 times a day. She just loved it. And I got into it too, man. And I was a little older at the time. I would have been what? 13 and 85. But also look, Richard Donner, Steven Spielberg, Chris Columbus. These guys knew how to make movies. It's a solid flick. Now here's our first one that lost money on this list. But you'll see, it's kind of become a cult classic, even though it lost money at the time. And that is Return to Oz, which I will admit, I know, when they make an AI Pedro Pascal, we're done. Then they literally will put him in everything, and he'll be every person. It's going to be terrifying. It's like that. Goonies was huge, dude. It's like that. Have you seen those things where they would do the deep fakes? So it would be like, the one I remember for sure is that Full House, and they do the opening of Full House, but every character is Nick Offerman. Essentially, is Ron Swanson. Really, it's that image with the mustache. That's what they're going to have in the future. Every character is going to be played by Pedro Pascal, and nobody's going to be they're going to also need to have virtual people in the theaters to watch these things because nobody's going to go. Anyhow, Return to Oz had an $85 million budget. So the biggest budget we've seen so far. It cost more to make than Back to the Future. It cost more to make than The Goonies. It only made $34 million in the theater, so it lost a lot of money. Now, who made Return to Oz? That would be Disney. Couldn't control their budgets then, and apparently still can't control their budgets now. Now, I've never seen it, but it apparently had a lot of, as they say, nightmare fuel for the kids. Some really crazy stuff. But I think that's kind of interesting. Like, you go Back to the Future, Pale Rider, Cocoon, Fletch, Goonies. Just classics, right? Those are like still solid movies from the 80s that people are going to watch. Return to Oz fails. It was kind of borderline horror, like you said, Vince, you're right. But I would say it bombed in the movies. Kind of a cult classic, though. So even though it didn't do well, it's still out there. And then you want your action. You got Rambo, First Blood Part 2, right? $78 million budget. So a smaller budget than Return to Oz. Made $915 million. Again, we're adjusting these for inflation. So a very profitable film from TriStar. And I didn't realize this. James Cameron did the screenplay with Stallone. Jerry Goldsmith's score. Solid friggin' action movie. $915 million. So a little bit less than Back to the Future, which Back to the Future is going to be able to pull in a younger, more family audience. Because back then, kids didn't necessarily get to go see something like this in the theater. They'd see it probably on, videotape later on. But $915 million. It's amazing what you do when you just make a solid action picture, right? A View to a Kill. $91 million budget. So I think that one, that's the one with the biggest budget out of all of these. $464 million. So it was still profitable. If they could have controlled the budget, it would have been more profitable. This one was from MGM UA. It was Moore's last Bond film. It's not one of the greatest, but like most Bond films from the past, still watchable, still a good time. And Grace Jones was scary and apparently scared the hell out of Roger Moore when they had to do the in bed scene. So yeah, man, you're getting a Bond flick, a Rambo flick, you got Goonies, you got Back to the Future, all in the theater at the same time in July of 1985. But there you go, though. Budget-wise, $91 million, but it still made $464, so it was still profitable. And if you're making a Bond movie today, that budget's going to probably be more in the $250 million range, at which point it loses money if it makes $464. This is a big part of modern Hollywood. There are creative issues, but it's the management that is just as big a problem. They do not know how to control their budgets on these films. So films that do fairly well in the theater still end up being not profitable. So here's a switch, though. Prizzi's Honor. So this is more of kind of a drama. It's from 20th Century Fox, a John Huston film. Jack Nicholson, Kathleen Turner. I don't even know what it's really about. I just remember there was a lot of buzz back in the day about Prizzi's Honor. $49 million budget. So way too high for a movie like that. But that probably had something to do with who was making it. Big names. They got more money than they probably needed, to be completely honest. Made $81 million in the theaters. So definitely a money loser. So far we got two money losers, Return to Oz and Prizzi's Honor. More successful drama that was also out at the time, St. Elmo's Fire, which also produced a song that guys my age, love to do the weird voice to in the car, Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, we've ruined that song for everybody. But this one, $30 million budget, so way more in line with what you should be doing with a Brat Pack sort of drama. Made $115 million, so it made money. Again, wasn't massively profitable, but it still made a profit. That's kind of what you're going for nowadays. And you got so much stuff now. It's not profitable. It's losing money for Hollywood. They are draining themselves of cash. At some point, investors are going to say, what the hell are we doing with these people? And the ones that are profitable, I don't know if they're profitable enough to really balance out how it goes. So last one on this list is Life Force. Also lost money. Now, though, this has become a cult classic horror film. There's nudity in it. Matilda May, I think. You got Steve Rails back in it. So if you're Canadian, you got your Steve Rails back in there. This one had a $76 million budget. So this is right up there with the big hitters on this one. Only made $35 million in the theater. That was true with a lot of horror back in the day. Now, this was from Canon and TriStar, so you got Golden Globus in here. Horror movies back in the day, as many classics as there are, they didn't always make a massive amount of money in the theater. A lot of these things did so well, again, in video rentals after the fact. It's why if you look at like the horror kids from the 80s, that's why the image of the videotape and the, Be Kind, Please Rewind and stuff like that looms so large in their minds, because so much of what they were doing with horror movies back then, I mean, the audiences was they were renting them, the movies, they often didn't do that well in the theaters, but then a lot of these dudes would find all these obscure movies that would just rent friggin' great. We had a horror section at the video park that people would not friggin' believe. On the outside, it looked like a haunted house. It actually had animatronics. You go inside, it was all dark. There was creepy music. There was one of those mirror effects with a guy who turns into a vampire, like in the center. But I can remember going in there and having to straighten up all the time. And dude, that stuff just rented like hotcakes from that section. It was huge. So there we go. There's our list of movies that were all out in July of 85. The big winners being Back to the Future and Rambo First Blood Part 2. 3 movies that lost money: Return to Oz, Prizzi's Honor, Life Force. All of which have become sort of, well, I mean, Prizzi's Honor was very well talked about at the time, but the other two have become cult classics. So in a weird way, even when Hollywood was failing back then, they were sort of succeeding as well because of that rental market. And I guess you call it the aftermarket. And think about how many of these things to this day are getting like merchandise and re-releases. I think you could re-release any of these movies into a theater right now and probably find at least a small audience for it who'd want to check it out, including some, younger folks. It's not just our old guys who want to go see this stuff. Yeah, the Blockbuster generation. I know I was a video clerk. I mean, I don't want to brag, but we kicked Blockbuster's ass. We had the world's largest video store, and it was a good day for Blockbuster when Hollywood Video bought us out because the owners were ready to move on to do other things. Hollywood basically destroyed us. Probably great for Blockbuster, but the fact of the matter is, video rentals were on their way out, and the owners of the store were pretty smart about getting out when they could get out. At any rate, all right, so that's the look at the movies of 1985, what was profitable, what was not. Man, that's some solid stuff. And I look at the list and I'm going, I mean, there's a few I haven't seen. I've never seen Life Force. I've never seen St. Elmo's Fire. I've never seen Prizzi's Honor. I'm going to get in trouble for this one. I've never seen any of the Rambo movies because I just wasn't into Stallone back in the day. But yeah, all the others. Saw Back to the Future and Cocoon in the theater. And I've seen Pale Rider, Fletch, love Fletch. Great lines in Fletch. Goonies, View to a Kill. Yeah, I've seen all those. But there's a few of those I would like to watch. And I think all of them are worth watching if you haven't seen them. All right, other news of this week. The Running Man. New movie, Glenn Powell starring in it. I've seen, a few different takes on the trailer. A lot of sort of, I got to be honest with you. I thought it was a pretty good trailer. It looked like a popcorn movie. It looked like a good action flick. It's coming out, I think, in August. I think it was August. I look at Glenn Powell, and it does seem like the movie leans into his strengths, which is a good sign. It doesn't look like they're trying to play him against type. But I look at Glenn Powell, and I think this dude kind of gives me a similar vibe to Bruce Willis back in the day. Because I tell you what, when Die Hard came out, nobody was pegging Bruce Willis to be an action star. He'd done Moonlighting, which was primarily comedy, with a little bit of action. But he played one of those characters that, wasn't like a real ass kicker per se. When they did kind of action stuff, it was still done more in a slapstick way. Which, by the way, Moonlighting, at least the first couple seasons are just, if you never watched it, you should watch it. It was a really incredible show. It was one of those shows where you're going, how did this make it on a network TV? And it was very popular. So it's good that it did, but you're going, I have a hard time believing a lot of executives didn't hate this show because they didn't know what the hell it was supposed to be. But, so he did Moonlighting. He did Blind Date, which is a pretty funny movie with John Larroquette and Kim Basinger. It's a weird movie, but it had some good stuff. That's a movie I do remember seeing that in the theater. Remember with the parents going and seeing that one. But then Die Hard comes along and you kind of almost think, well, it's like an action comedy, right? It's Bruce Willis. It's going to have a big, now it does have some funny stuff in it, but it's an action flick. It's, in my opinion, one of the best action movies ever made, bar none. And I see Glenn Powell and I think that dude could probably fit into a similar niche as Bruce Willis did. Good looking guy. I think he could be kind of funny. He seems like he has that sort of a little bit of a smart ass, kind of thing going there. I'm not talking about him in his real life, but like he could portray that kind of thing. If they execute on this film and make something that's just a good, rollicking action movie that gets people in, I think it could really kind of launch him into doing some similar stuff. And it looks, I've never read the book, but it looks like they're at least hitting some of the highlights there of what this character was going through. And we'll see. Obviously, you got to execute, and sometimes you get a trailer that's better than the film. But I thought it looked like it was probably pretty fun. I might actually go see this in a movie theater. I don't know. Oh, I am excited though, because they're re-releasing some stuff, and Muppet Movie is going to be in the theaters, I think, next weekend. And I was just talking about, we were watching like a scene on YouTube or something from it. Muppet Movie had an amazing number of cameos from stars from back in the day. And I was like going, I'd like to see that on a big screen again. That would be a lot of fun. And lo and behold, here it is. Okay. Let's look at some new releases that are floating around. I got 10 of them. Let's start off with this one. Nancy Wears Hats. I know Finn's the Spook is ready for this one. This is the first volume in a new series collecting the classic strips of Ernie Bushmiller. Now, I'll admit this. I don't remember really caring about Nancy when I was a kid, like as a comic strip in the paper. It was there. And now I don't know if Bushmiller was still doing it at that point or if somebody else was. But there's an account on Twitter that posts Nancy strips, and it has made me a fan. Maybe I needed to be older. I don't know what it is, but Bushmiller had this really, really. Oh, is it $20 on Amazon? Ooh, I'm glad you said that, because on the Fantagraphics site, it's like $30. I gotta go check Amazon for that. Yeah. So, any rate though, yeah, like his sense of humor is really hitting with me now. I'm really enjoying my daily Nancy strips online. So this is his first volume from Fantagraphics. They always do good work. And I believe you also get a sticker, or they just put up an image of all these stickers of Nancy sticking her tongue out just to make us sad because we can't have it. But I'm assuming, now I don't know, maybe the Amazon one won't come with that. Maybe you got to order on Fantagraphics to get the bonus sticker. I don't know. But I dig that. I like that imagery. He just had, I know, and he just had this weird, it's not like a weird sense of humor like Gary Larson. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but what I do know is I am simpatico with Ernie Bushmiller now. And so I'm definitely looking forward to getting a volume of the Nancy ones. First volume from Fantagraphics. I'm not sure how long it is, how many pages, but maybe they have that. They probably have that in the Amazon description for sure, but I got to check that one out. So looking forward to that. Also from Fantagraphics, Donald Duck Finds Pirate Gold by Carl Barks. Part of the Complete Carl Barks Library, Volume 1, available August 26. These are the very first Donald Duck stories done by Carl Barks. If you've never looked at Carl Barks' art, you have cheated yourself in life. Absolutely amazing comic work this guy did. And he invented essentially this whole Donald Duck universe of Duckburg and like the Beagle Boys, and he just breathed life. I think he might have invented Uncle Scrooge. Basically, DuckTales was taking everything Carl Barks did, more or less, and putting it onto the screen. These were like adventure strips and absolutely amazing stuff. This is $40. Yeah, $300. So they had to print one. Yeah, Fins could tell you. Carl Barks is absolute genius, and if $40 for this one, I'm probably gonna get it. And I don't have a lot of bookshelf space, so I generally don't get like omnibus books. I don't like getting hardcovers at this point because of the amount of room they take up. But I don't really have any Carl Barks, and I'm really tempted on this one. And it looks beautiful. And Fantagraphics again always does beautiful works. For example, this is another one they got coming out. Now for something completely different. The order they publish these in is bizarre as hell. Pirate Gold is actually volume 1. Yeah, and it says it's volume 1, but that's what I was thinking, because it said volume 1, and I'm going, I swear to God, I've seen books that look like this already. Am I wrong? Maybe this is a new series. So, okay, they're doing a weird order. Oh, God bless them. You know, they're creative types. Again, there's a lot of chaos in there. But so also coming from Fantagraphics, a book entitled Turn Loose Our Death Rays and Kill Them All. This is going to be the most complete collection of Fletcher Hanks' bizarre Golden Age comics. So he did Stardust the Space Wizard. This is an image of Phantoma, who was this blonde jungle goddess who would take on this skull face appearance when she was, I guess, PO'd. This dude was just, he's like the Ed Wood of comic books. An interesting drawing style, a little reminiscent of early Basil Wolverton, sorry. So this is going to be $45. It's on sale in November of 2025. And again, another one where you go, I'm real tempted on this one. They've done some of his work has been published before, and I don't have it. Finn's is saying, wait on it. They go down to around $30 on Amazon. I will do that because I like a bargain, and $10 off would be pretty groovy. Yeah, so we got Turn Loose Our Death Rays and Kill Them All on sale November 2025. Fletcher Hanks. If you've never read any of his stuff, it's bizarre. It's Ed Wood type bizarre, without the fuzzy sweaters and maybe with I don't know. There could have been cross dressing in some of Hanks' stuff. They were weird enough for it. I saw this at Monsters in Motion. That's a website. They do a lot of sales, especially of movie music. This is a 16 CD set, collecting the work of Lalo Schifrin, very recently passed away. It's a pre-order. It's $135. Schifrin did some absolutely amazing movie and TV music work. You can see from the image there, we got Bruce Lee, we got Bullet, just amazing stuff. So if you're into movie music, first of all, you might want to just go check out the Monsters in Motion website because there's a lot more there. But Schifrin did some great stuff, and it's a 16 CD set for $135. You know, it's not cheap, but that's a lot of music. And again, if you're into it, you might really dig that. Coming July 9th, which is 3 days from now, at 8 a.m. Pacific time, the new Mego Fantastic Four figures, Disney Store exclusives, which means there's about a 99% chance that you're going to be buying these on eBay at a later date at a higher price. I'll be honest with you, and this is no swipe at Mego. It is a swipe at Disney Store. I have had it with exclusives. I ain't getting no Walmart exclusives, especially. I've had 2 of those canceled on me when I was lucky enough to actually get the thing ordered. I was completely unable to get the Spider-Man Mego figures from Disney, the Disney Store app, whatever. I think I even downloaded the damn app or something so I could do it. No more exclusives for me. If you want me to buy something, produce the damn thing in numbers that are big enough for people who want to buy it and just put it out there at retail. No more exclusives. But if you are into exclusives and Mego and Marvel, you might want to look for these. But again, you're going to have to be quick because the professional buyers, with all their probably bots and who knows what else, are going to snap them up quickly. Apparently, some of the Spidey figures were still around a few months later at the actual physical Disney locations at the parks. But, you know, you got to pay like $10,000 to get into a park these days, so I'm not going to go do that either. But just be aware that they're doing this. I was so excited when Mego got the Marvel license. I was like, oh, awesome. Because a lot of these they're a little harder to find. And, you know, they haven't made the sort of modern reproductions of them. So I was like, great, I can get like the Spider-Man. And there's only a few that I really would want. You know, Spidey, I probably want the Thing. Maybe Thor, maybe Iron Man, maybe Cap. You know, some of the classic stuff. Put it on the shelf back there with some of the DC things. And then it was like this damn Disney Store exclusive crap. Just a pain in the butt. And Oh, you never saw Big Head Superman? Huh. I mean, I remember when that went on sale, the Silver Age. We're talking about the Mark McFarlane's Silver Age Superman with the big giant head that was like future Superman, and then the lion face. Interesting. I thought that went on sale already somewhere, and I've seen it. It seems like it's in some. Has it been in people's hands, or have they just been showing pictures of it? But I skipped on that one because I'm like, it's another figure I don't have room for. If they had just sold like, heads that you could put on your existing figures, that would have been actually really cool. Like, here's a set of weird Superman variant heads that you could just attach to your existing bodies that you have, or do that with Batman or whoever. That could probably sell pretty well. But like, dude, I don't need to buy a full, so it was a Target exclusive. All right. Yeah. See, no more damn exclusives, folks. Just make the freaking figures and sell them. Stop screwing around. At any rate, just selling the heads, though. I think that would be kind of cool. I think it would sell. Well, speaking of McFarlane, and I don't think these are, what? Sandman with the gas mask? I haven't seen that one. I know. See, the only McFarlane stuff I'm seriously grabbing is are the Superpowers ones. And I would love a Superpowers version of that and the Golden Age Wonder Woman. But I heard from one place, and I don't know if I've seen it since, that McFarlane is losing the license for DC in the near future. I know they got another wave of the Superpower figures planned, so probably post that somewhere. And Mattel's going to be doing them. So I don't know if they're going to have time to do another wave of Superpowers after the next one, which has, I want to say it has a Nightwing in it. It has Animal Man. And did it have Dead Man? Maybe Dead Man? I can't remember. Mattel has it now, yeah. And I don't know, maybe Mattel will do the Superpowers figures as well. Obviously, Superpowers was initially Kenner. So if McFarlane can do that with all the imagery, I assume the rights are maybe owned by DC. So maybe they'll be doing Superpowers figures as well. I don't know. McFarlane does some cool stuff. And I look at Mattel and go, I don't know. Do they have the people who are going to be pulling in really cool ideas? Or is it going to be just sort of, the same basic crap we always get? I don't know. But this is coming. Batman, the No Man's Land version. There are so many friggin' variants on these things that I've never read. This is 7-inch scale. You can pre-order it on July 8th. So that's 2 days from now. It looks like a good figure. It looks like, pretty. Just straight up Batman. You got you have the sort of latter-day utility belt with the pouches. But you got, the gray and the blue and the bat symbol. So, it's just a pretty legit one. Jonah Hex. Oh yeah. I got to look for the Sandman though. I do like classic Sandman. McFarlane Toys is also doing Nightwing in his original costume designed by George Perez, which some people hate, which I happen to friggin' love. I love they went for a disco look there. And I would actually be tempted on this one just because I love that costume. It's so out there. But same bat scale, same bat pre-order date, probably the same bat pre-order price as that Batman one. Although I don't know what the price is, so don't quote me on not knowing anything. But anyways, so that's coming. Oh yeah, on July 8th as well. So in a couple days, you could pre-order those. Winding down the McFarlane stuff for DC. I don't know. Maybe McFarlane will pick up something else. Marvel. I don't know. From Big Bad Toy Store, King Ghidorah from. Based on the movie King Ghidorah versus Gigan from 1972 from SH Monster Arts. Now, here's the problem for me on this one, right? I just looked at a couple McFarlane ones, 7-inch figures, a lot of mobility. that are probably in the $25, $30, $35 range. This bad boy, 9 inches tall. 9 inches tall. So it's going to be a couple inches taller and obviously wider, although I don't think they're including the wings in that 9 inches tall, because that would actually be kind of small if you think about it. But $300. $300. I dig King Ghidorah. I ain't paying no $300 for a 9-inch tall figure. It's just not happening. I could go out and find a couple more of the classic Shogun Warriors, the vintage ones, and pay less than that. Or maybe about the same as that. You can find some of those for like $150. I mean, if you're buying a mint looking, it's going to be a lot more than that. But yeah, it's just way too much. They must have an amazing fan base that can spend that kind of money on rubber and plastic, but it ain't me. But if you happen to be one of those folks who dig that stuff and collect them, check it out. January 2026 is when it's estimated to arrive. But yeah, $300. You know, and I mean, it's, you know, you could pose it, I suppose, a bit, but that's insane to me. But you know what's also insane? Kroll. If you've never seen Kroll before, it's not the world's greatest movie. I'll be honest, it's not, but it's got some amazing stuff in it. It's fun to watch. 4K Steelbook on sale at Amazon now for $40, apparently shipping in September. I also saw when I went to this that that somebody's selling the VHS of Kroll for $80 on Amazon. So probably not twice the quality as that 4K Steelbook, but you might want to look for that one. Very cool movie. I remember that was one of those movies when I was a kid that I wanted to see because everybody else saw it and I didn't get to go. But I did have the Marvel adaptation of Kroll at one point. So that was pretty cool. And was that like magazine sized? I don't think it was one of the Treasury Edition size ones. I think it was maybe magazine size, like the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. I reviewed that on my channel way back when. It actually did pretty good as a video. But it was like magazine size. I think it might have been magazine size, but I do remember that. Minecraft was $40. Yeah, and I don't really do the Steelbook stuff. I honestly, it's the 4K. I'm like, dude, I'm half blind, and you know, my ears are shot. Mega clarity, it just doesn't do anything for me. It's fine. I happily watch old VHS tapes, and I ain't complaining. So I generally I'm fine with just a DVD. I don't need the super. But if you're into that, $40 for Kroll. Oh, and there's what you get with that for that $40. Yeah, it looks nice. Nice presentation. I'm sure there's like all sorts of little extras, which again, if I'm honest, I almost never watch. I should, but I just end up not doing it. So again, I'm not that big on like interviews and this and that and the other. I guess, I don't know. I like watching movies. I like talking about movies. I'm not really super into like movie history. I'll read some stuff and it's like, oh, that's interesting. But I don't get so deep into it. At any rate. So books that I care about coming in July for Marvel and DC. And basically, this is all facsimiles. We got Fantastic Four, number 7. They are doing the first 12 issues of Fantastic Four in facsimile form. So number 7's coming out this month, $5. I'm definitely going to get that one. They've also been putting out the I think it's 3-parter of their First Encounter with Galactus. They've had the first 2 of those out. The next one's coming out, I think, soon. Or is that the one I just bought? Was that the 3rd? Criminy, I don't remember now. At any rate, but that's something to look for if you want to look for the Fantastic Four versus Galactus books. They're putting those out in facsimile form. And then from DC, they're putting out Superman number 1, $10. I think this is one of the Golden Age size ones with the newsprint paper. or newspaper, maybe I should just say. They've done Detective 27. They've done Action Comics #1 in that format. I think that's what this one is too. On sale July 30th, so $10. Interesting thing, because I'm getting ready later today to do a Superman Year One video. We're going to look at his first year in Action Comics. Kind of a different character than a lot of people think of Superman being. But when Superman #1 came out, you notice, first of all, there's no #1 on it. And that's because it was a one-shot. It was just reprinting some of the Superman comics. And that's it. It was 64 pages. It was a one-shot. You would say 64 pages of action. Yeah, as in Action Comics. And it did so well that they said, well, crap, let's just make a Superman series. And so the next one they popped out becomes Superman #2. But this was originally just a reprint kind of deal. So if you have read all the early Action stuff, you're not going to get anything new in this one. But I'm definitely going to pick this one up. I like that format. I like the newsprint. It's very cool. Hopefully they'll do some more of those, like Golden Age books in that size with the newsprint kind of paper. All right. So what else do we got here in the den? We're going to do an unboxing in just a moment. Yeah, exciting. I know. I did pick up a pile of comic books this week at one of my local comic shops from the $1.50 bins. It was a good harvest, I must say. One of the things I picked up was the facsimile of the Fantastic Four with Silver Surfer on the cover. Let's bring this dude down for a moment. So show some of these off. We got Ghosts. You know, I like to put it over. Let me move over. There we go. Let me go center stage. So we got Ghosts what is this one? Number 109. Very cool. I've picked up a few John Carter, Warlord of Mars books from both the $1 bin and the 50-cent bin. I find these for 50 cents and I'm picking them up. Although I did notice I didn't have a list of which ones I had already. So I did actually get a couple that I already owned. But again, for 50 cents, I can deal with it and I'm happy to pass it on to others. Oh, dude, not only they got 50 cents, they got a lot of 50 cent and a lot of dollar comics. And granted, a lot of the 50 centers are more modern stuff that I'm not really into. Although they got a bunch of Cerberus in there, which I can't lie, I've been a little tempted to dip in on that one. You know, I go, well, but I got too many already. And then I walk home with a freaking stack of these things. But they got a ton of dollar comics. I mean, a ton of dollar comics. Marvel and DC. And of course, some of the more expensive ones too. That's King Conan before it became Conan the King. They renamed that one. I got some Korak, son of Tarzan. Great art in these. Was it Kubert who was doing it at that point? Let's see No, that's not Kubert for sure. But at any rate, that old comic book smell. So that's very cool. That would become Tarzan Family later on. We got Cole the Destroyer. I am super, super, super enjoying the Cole comics that are being put out right now, called The Atlantean. Got a Master of Kung Fu. Dude, anytime I see Marvel in the 50-cent bin, I freaking grab it. That was volume 2 of Micronauts, The New Voyages, issue 4. I grabbed a couple of these continuity Ms. Mystic ones. Now, this is not the original stuff done by Neil Adams, but they were 50 cents, so I thought, what the heck. I like the art, though, for the most part. It looks cool. I know this character, but I don't know the character really, really well, so I'm kind of looking forward to checking these out. Dollar bin, I picked up a few Spectacular Spider-Mans. Oh, look at that one. Man, ringing Mysterio's bell. Very cool. Here we got the black costume. Cloak and Dagger. Love Cloak and Dagger. I'm trying to collect all those. Wait, is that the friggin' Beyonder? Yeah, it is. Oh, I hope they beat the crap out of the Beyonder. That guy got on my nerves. This one I was really excited about. So, Savage She-Hulk, I started collecting those back in the 80s because you can get them for a quarter in the back issue bin. And I didn't have much money. So here we go. Issue 21 from the 50-cent bin in pretty good condition, readable for sure. And this is what I needed for the collection. Anytime you could fill out a little bit of a collection. Hot damn. Hey, speaking of, I love this collectible miniatures. There's a Mego ad. Whoops. We got Spidey. We got Cap. We got Paunch, Wonder Woman. Dracula's in there. We got Darth Vader, which Vader would have been Kenner at that size. Not, what is this? Marvel Collector comic sets, each in very fine to mint condition. That's great. You can get Man from Atlantis #1. Oh, set 8. Dazzler #1, Man from Atlantis #1, Human Fly #1, Machine Man #2, and Moon Knight #1. I have no idea what the cost is on that one. I love old ads. I picked up another New Adventures of Superboy. And then a bunch of Tarzan. Now that's DC. And when DC did Tarzan of the Apes, they continued the numbering from like Gold Key and Dell. So this was number 209. But you notice they have right on there, 3rd DC issue. So if they 3-numbered it, that would have been number 3. And then I grabbed a bunch of the Marvel Tarzans, which is another one I dig. I love this stuff. I love superhero stuff, but man, this kind of stuff, pulp, comic strip characters, just hits me where I live. So they had a ton of these. It's the first bin that I started looking in, and it was like, oh my God. I went through one time and walked home with 100 comics out of the 50-cent bin. My brain was just like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It was all this old Bronze Silver Age DC stuff for the most part. And when I got in, I find immediately a bunch of Tarzan, some Koraks, John Carter of Mars. I was like, oh God, my wife's going to kill me. But it ended up not being quite as big a haul as it could have been. But I was amazed. This really helped boost my Tarzan collection. Looks like the Titanic going down there. And that's an annual, king size annual, yeah. Really cool stuff they had. And this one is in pretty rough shape, but it's issue 3 of the Transformers miniseries where you get Spidey, which officially makes it part of the Marvel universe. Ooh, there goes the dog. Somebody just rang the doorbell. Probably a delivery guy. And there were a few Warlords in there. Basically, I just collected a lot of comics on Thursday that involve men wearing very little clothing, beating up bad guys. Hey, we all have our fetish, right? Yeah, check that out. A lot of good Warlord stuff. Warlord's not too hard to find, honestly. And there's some amazing stuff with Grell. Oh, check that out, dude. There's a little Icy Bear dude. You know what I did not realize? I only found this out recently. Slurpees start out, they're just Icies. I always thought Icy was like the cheap version of Slurpees. No, not true. 7-Eleven wanted to license the Icies for their stores. And Icy was like, well, okay, but we don't want you using the Icy name. So 7-Eleven came up with Slurpee, and now we refer to all these things as Slurpees instead of Icies. But Icies apparently were the original. So last one I picked up, Weird War Tales. Man, one of the first comic books I ever got as a kid was Weird War Tales with the Creature Commandos. I have been a fan ever since. All right. So the other big thing I got in the den, this box, the address stuff's on the other side. Somebody wanted to figure out my address hard enough. I'm sure they could. Why make it easy for them? give them a challenge. So this is an item I had my eye on for quite a while, and I had not made the move. And so I had a pretty good sales month with my role-playing game stuff on drivethrurpg.com and lulu.com. And I finally said, all right, dude, I'm doing this. This is an item limited to 500. For all I know, I'm the first one who's bought one. Actually, I do know I'm not the first one who's bought one. I have seen some. It is the Koko the Clown little statue. Of course, Koko is one of Max Fleischer's creations. The Koko cartoons are absolutely amazing. 6-inch premium resin figurine. Oh, look at that on the side. We got him out of the inkwell. If you've never watched some of these old cartoons, it's almost like the earliest cartoons were the best ones ever made. If you look at what Fleischer was doing, it puts early Disney and early Warner Brothers to shame. I mean, to shame. Now, Disney picked up the game, and so does Warner Brothers in terms of, especially in terms of humor, but also in terms of the quality of the animation. But early Fleischer is, and it's weird as crap. Yeah, they did a Koko and Ghost set too. This is just the one with Koko. Here he is. Sealed in carbonite. Let's see. Probably easy to get out. Now, this is not an action figure. This is an in-action figure. And I want to put him next to that Fleischer Superman figure I got. Because, hey, the Fleischer boys got to stick together. Dude, check this out. How friggin' great. Let's do a little turn around. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so there we go. Koko the Clown. It just, I love Koko. I got him now. Now he could sit down here with on my desk with Skeletor. These two can hang out maybe. No, I might put him back on a shelf with Superman, but this is one I've been wanting for a while. It's like $60, so it's not like insane. It ain't like $300 for that King Ghidorah. But it was definitely one where you go, I mean, like, okay, I mean, honestly, I don't need it. I want it, but I don't need it. But had a good month in sales. And I said, I'm going for it before it's completely gone forever. I'm happy I got it. All right, what else do we got? A couple little movie reviews. Frankly, nothing major here, though. Burp. Burp. Christmas in July. Now I need to scoot back over again. Christmas in July. This is Dick Powell, Ellen Drew, as you can see, if you can read. 1940. This is a Preston Sturges movie. He does kind of a little screwball comedy type stuff. Cute concept. Doesn't really honestly deliver. The timing just feels a little off. But the idea is, this is a guy who works, it almost seemed like accounting for this company. And he's trying to win this big $25,000 prize for coming up with a new advertising slogan for a company, a coffee company, Maxford House, as they put it. I think I might even be, I don't know if I'm drinking Maxwell House at the moment or not. I don't remember what my wife put in there. Oh, it might be chock full of nuts. Anyhow, so he has these dreams. He's going to make all this money for him and his wife. And some guys at work, the dog's upset again. Some guys at work make a phony telegram telling him that he won the prize. And he's amazed. And so because he's won this prize, the guy he works for in his real job gives him a job. He's going to give him a job doing advertising slogans. I mean, hey, he won the prize. He goes off to this place with the telegram, I won the prize. And the reality is the folks who are supposed to be picking the best slogan have been stopped up. They got a jury and one guy's holding out because he doesn't like the one everybody else chose. So the president is unaware that a winner's been chosen. This guy rolls in with this telegram and he's like, oh, they never tell me anything, cuts the check for the guy. Guy and his wife go to the department store. They're buying presents for their whole neighborhood. They're just excited as hell. And then it finally comes out. No, we ain't picked a winner yet. This is a hoax. Now, the dudes who did the telegram kind of are like, oh, shit. So they're just keeping quiet, hoping it was going to die away. It's a cute concept. It really is. Has a fun little ending. But I don't know, man. It was a little bit flat. It just, as movies go, it didn't do that much for me. It was fine. It was a C. Maybe even no, I wouldn't go C minus. It was a C. Just a C picture. The other one I saw, and I actually saw this before I did my stream last week and then forgot about it. Yongari, Monster of the Deep from 1967. It is a Korean kaiju flick. It was fine. It was nothing spectacular, but it was fun. If you like kaiju, it was a fun little kaiju movie. Not one of the greatest, but I will mention that I saw it on Midnight Mausoleum, hosted by Marlena Midnight. Now, this is a horror host show from the Quad Cities, so Iowa, Illinois. I had family in the Quad Cities back in the day. I don't think I have anybody there now, but I got to admit that it was kind of just fun for me watching like Iowa humor and watching advertisements for places in, I think, Davenport, Iowa. My family's from Iowa, so I got an Iowa thing. At any rate, in fact, if you really look back there, you could see a bunch of Big Ten pennants when it was really the Big Ten, the true Big Ten of which Iowa is a part. So anyways, you can find, I think they might have some of these maybe on YouTube. You could follow her on Twitter. She's really cool. They just did one where David Dasmalkian does a horror host character as well. They just did something together. I like him. He's like a fellow nerd. I kind of dig the dude. And you could also get the Quad Cities Channel 8 thing on like your Roku, which is what I watched it on. Love to support the indie horror hosts out there. I mean, look, I love Svengoolie too. I was watching Svengoolie last night. I'm 100% down with Svengoolie. But, her, you got like The Mummy and the Monkey. You can find their stuff on Friday nights on YouTube. They do movies. They're out of Cleveland. I love that stuff. I just love just regular people out there putting it out there, trying to get things done, trying to make cool content, having fun. Also, Mr. Lobo is another one I dig. I've been a financial supporter of OSI 74. Now I'm in trouble. I think it's OSI 74. Yeah. OSI 74 is another Roku channel that Mr. Lobo does that has lots of this kind of stuff on it. I think I'm on the Patreon at like $10 a month or something like that, and have been forever. But at any rate, you might want to check out Marlena Midnight Mausoleum. Check out OSI 74 if you've never seen it. Lots of weird crap on OSI 74. That was where I first saw the Ghoulie Go-Go. Is it Ghoulie Go-Go? I'm looking that up too. These guys from New York. Go-Go. These guys from New York did this show that was basically like in black and white, and it looks like a I wonder if I could save that and put it up on the screen. All right, let's see how good my live streaming skills are. Live streaming? Oh, that's a weird, I don't even know what that file type is. Holy crap. That one ain't gonna work. How about that one? Save image. So they do this show. It's like black and white, and it's like a monster dance party for kids, if that makes any sense. And they'll have bands come on there and play live, and it's sort of like, you know, surf rock, rockabilly type music. Okay, let's see if this will work, because the size is going to be, oh yeah, all wrong, but that's not too bad. Let's just expand it. There's Gula Go-Go. They got a great logo. They do all these weird fake commercials for some company that produces just bizarre meat products. Anyways, you can find Gula Go-Go on OSI 74 and a lot of other fun stuff. So if you're into that retro 60s kind of thing, it really is a great logo too. God, I want that logo on a t-shirt. But I'm like, I could do that too. I could probably take that logo and put it on a shirt myself, but it's stealing. I don't want to do that. I don't want to steal from these guys. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and make a big guess and say the Gula Go-Go guys are not all, you know, billionaires lighting their cigars with $100 bills, wearing top hats and spats. Although, frankly, it'd be a better world if they were. But, yeah, OSI 74, Midnight Mausoleum, Mummy and the Monkey. Get out there, check some of these people out online. They're working, man. They're hustling. I love to see the hustle, and they make some fun stuff. All right. We're at an hour 20. This is my longest stream yet. By the way, I am now on YouTube, although it may have changed already. But I got 666 subscribers. 666, baby. So we're moving along. An hour 20, though. That's pretty long. Coming up this week, what do I got? Oh, there we are. I got a review of the Green Hornet TV show. Yes, with Bruce Lee. Some ideas on why it only got one season. And on Friday, that's Wednesday. On Friday, I got a review of the Fantastic Four board game that my daughter got me for Father's Day. It is a game for kids, but it's got a cool little concept in it. Worth a look. Oh, Monday, I got Justice League number 27 with one of the best covers they did for the Justice League International. I think it was Justice League America at that point. Book. So that's coming up. Favorite was Grandpa Munster's Super Scary Saturdays on TBS. I know. I've never gotten to see that, man. I want to see those. TBS also had somebody else, didn't they? Was it like Captain something? Like a fake superhero dude? I friggin' love monster hosts. And I love old, stupid movies. It's just one of the joys of life. I feel bad for people who can't get into that stuff. They're missing out. All right. So I got 666 subscribers now. And actually I have qualified for the limited monetization on YouTube. I haven't applied for it yet. But yeah, it's kind of nice when, you know, you make your silly little videos and things kind of eventually happen. I'm hustling too, man, doing my best, hopefully giving people something fun to look at every once in a while. But I think that will do it for today. Me and the wife are going to go out and do some shopping, I believe, at some point today with our Sunday. I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. If it's rough, I hope it gets better for you. If you need help, reach out to people. We gotta stick together. We gotta all help each other out in this world. Why I always end these things with God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. Hopefully I will see you again soon. I'm doing the Fat Albert thing. Maybe a little Jack Kirby. But hopefully I will see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Fins the Spook, thank you for being in the chat. I really appreciate it. If you're lurking, jump into the chat. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk with you. I mean, unless you're going to call me, dirty names. Well, if they're really funny dirty names, that would be cool. But make sure there's a good humor element to them. But I will see you hopefully again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture.